What is a function? A function is a block of code. A function must be called in order for the code to run or be executed. So an old teacher of mine once said, when you can, try to limit a function to doing one specific thing. So let's see an example of a function. They can be written like this. So you say function, my example function, and then you have the brackets, and then curly brackets, and then that's it. This is now a function. Anything within these curly brackets will be run when this function is executed or called. Um, so the way in which you would invoke a function, you say the function's name, and it's very important that you get the same spelling with case sensitive, and then just the the brackets like that, rounded brackets, and then a semicolon. Now I think maybe some of the later versions of JavaScript you don't have to do the line ending, but I really like them. I think it makes the code so much more clean and more readable. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's maybe something you could try out. So this here now calls this function. So in order to see something working, um, inside this function, I'm just going to alert hi. So we've seen this before. This just makes a little box pop up on the screen with whatever is inside the brackets. Now, funny thing, this is a function. This is a function call, and we'll get to it in a little bit. What this all means. So we have created a function, given it a name, and put some code inside the parentheses. And then we have called the function. So if this isn't here, what happens when I talk to this person? Nothing. Nothing happens. It's just a function and it doesn't do anything on its own. But if I call the function, it pops up with the window saying hi. So this means the code is now being executed. The code is running. So you can also return a value from a function. And the way we do that is very simple. You just use the keyword return, and then you put what you want to return after it. So this won't actually do anything now because it just returns a value, and this doesn't do anything with the value. So if we want to now use this value, we can catch it in a variable. So if you remember how we declare variables from previous videos, let my variable equal whatever this returns. So now my variable will contain the string I. See that? So if we want to see this in action, we must alert my variable in order to see what has been returned from this function. There, says hi. So two different ways of doing something, but the same outcome. Now, what would we use a function for? Because this doesn't really do much right now. So what we can do is say, we'll get rid of this and we'll create a new function called add two numbers. So inside here, we can pass in what are called parameters or arguments. So we can say number 1 and number 2. So these are temporary local variables. And you know what's kind of funny? You don't have to declare these. Putting them in here is the declaration. So if we want to add two numbers, what would we do? We could say num1 plus num2. But that doesn't do anything with it. That just adds the numbers and nothing happens. So we can return the result of number 1 plus number 2. So now we have a pretty nifty function that add two numbers. If you call it, you now need to pass in parameters inside these brackets. So you can say 1 and 5. And then what we get out of this will be the number 6. So if you say let x equal this, x will now be 1 plus 5. So let's look at the logic and go through it step by step. You declare the variable and you're assigning it equal to something. And instead of it being just a static value that we're passing in, we use a function with a return value to get something back. So we are calling add two numbers. 1 becomes number 1, 5 becomes number 2, or other way around I should say. Number 1 takes the value of 1, number 2 takes the value of 5 because of the placement within these parentheses or brackets. So number 1 is 1, number 2 is 5, and we just say return 1 plus 5. So the cool thing is we now have a function that does something for us and it's reusable. So we could say add two numbers, 10 and 50. So we didn't have to rewrite this code. All we have to do is pass in different parameters. Okay, so you can see we're starting to tie together some of the concepts we've been learning so far. Got variables, we have assignments, we have operators in use, we now have functions. So what's the point of a function? Well, as we've already shown, it can help cut down waste. You have a nice piece of reusable code here, but let's have a better example. Let's make a function. Well, let's start off with an example. Max health is equal to 100. Current health is equal to 100, and we'll say damage is equal to 20. So now, if we want to reduce the hero's current health, we can put down a bit of code that says something like current health minus equals damage. So that's something we've seen in the past video. All this is a shorthand saying take what the value of the current health and then reduce it by this much. We're not assigning it, we're not setting it equal to that. We're saying reduce this, reduce the current health by this. So, okay, that's that done. We can reduce the current health. Now, what happens if you want to run some code every time the hero loses health? Well, we'll put some code there. Okay, done. That's easy enough. But what if there's now quite a lot of code? We want to run a lot of code every time the hero loses health. Okay, easy enough. So what if we want to lose health in multiple places? So this is when you get attacked by a goblin. We need to copy and paste that code. This is when you lose health from drinking a poison potion. Okay, that's easy. We just copy and paste the code. But what if we want to change the code now? Okay, well, we come in here. This line has changed. Okay, we're done. Oh, it didn't change here. We only changed it in one place. So now we need to go through all of the different places we've copy and pasted this code and say, okay, update that. Maybe there's 3 more like this. You need to update every area where you changed the code to make sure it's the same. So assuming that you actually did update it correctly everywhere, because a lot of the time you'll forget. It happens so often. You copy and paste code, you forget to do it somewhere, and only some of your code gets updated to the correct version. So yeah, there's a better alternative to this. We don't have to copy and paste and hope that we can remember everywhere that it needs to change. And the alternative is to just make it a function. So instead of this, you can say function lose health and then put in the argument for the amount of damage that you want to lose your health by. And then in here, you can say current health minus equals the amount. Okay, so anywhere that you want to lose health now, you just call the function lose health and you pass in whatever value you want to lose. So here, maybe it's damage. At some point, maybe you just want to lose an exact amount. You say you lose 50 you lose 50 health for here for whatever reason. And okay, now we want to add some code here. Um, we can add in some code. And now this doesn't care. This doesn't care that we've added code. We don't have to copy and paste this anywhere else. It's self-contained. And then if you want to add even more code, if you want to change the lines, change this line, it doesn't matter. Everywhere that you've put this, it's just going to call what is in here, and you don't have to go around the code hoping that you can update it correctly. So that's a good example of why functions are great. It's reusable code. You know, you don't have to keep typing in the specific amount that you lose. You just pass a number in and it does it for you. So some warnings. If you try to pass in the incorrect parameters, it will throw an error. So this is looking for a number. So if you say lose health, open and close the brackets with nothing in it, this will throw an error. It will say this function expects a parameter and you didn't pass anything through, so the game breaks. If you put too many, you say you lose 20 but also 5 but also 10, the function can't handle this because it's expecting one input, only one value. This will throw an error and break the game. Okay, so we've shown that functions can return a value. So it can say return Mr. or Mrs. or whatever. Um, so we can catch this in a variable just like we saw earlier. Be hero title equals get hero title and then open and close the parentheses. So hero title now contains the string Mr. And then you can use this is say let first name equal Jerry, let last name equal Chalmers, and then you can say let full name equal first name plus a little space plus last name. So let's go over the logic of this. This says create a variable called full name and make that equal to, and set this value equal to the first name, which is Jerry, plus, which we're allowed to do with strings, it just appends the value to the end. So it'll be Jerry space Chalmers. So just to show you, let's alert full name. Jerry Chalmers. Okay. So if we want to bring this into it, we can say we also want to have the hero title at the start. So the full name will now be Mr. space Jerry space Chalmers. Okay, good so far. So what is the point of me showing you this again? Well, we can just use the function inside here. We don't have to catch the variable. So instead of hero title, we will just say full name equals invoke the function get hero title and then add the rest. So it should still look exactly the same, but we're cutting out the need to create a variable for this. We just add it in here and then run the rest like usual. There we go, Mr. Jerry Chalmers. And so the last thing I want to talk about is scope. If we have a function, now let's go back to our lose health maybe. Yeah, for some reason, if you want to have a variable inside of here, it won't be available outside of the function. So if I say let temporary health equal whatever, because this was declared inside the function, you cannot then go out of the function and say temporary health plus equals 50. This will throw an error because this has not been declared. This has not been, well, actually, I don't think it would throw an error. It might allow you to do it, but this will not be the same variable as this. So you won't get the answer 360. This is what we call local, because the scope is local to this function only. So if you want to use this variable, you must do it inside here. Outside of this, yeah, you just don't have access to it. It will either set up a new variable or throw an error or something. So that's, yeah, you need to be careful about how and where you're using your variables. And you do get global variables. These are accessible throughout, I believe, the whole project. They, I would say, try not to use them too often if you absolutely have to. Um, it's very easy to overwrite the value within because everywhere in your code has access to it. So again, we'll see more about these different types of variables as the lessons go on. I'm sure I'll come up with better examples for them. But yeah, that's the foundations of functions. And I think the next video will be a short video on trying to get you set up with some kind of IDE, some kind of software so that you can open up the code in RPG Maker and start having a look around. Yeah, for example, here, this is how they set up a function within RPG Maker. It's a little bit different looking, but it's essentially doing the same thing. So before I bog you down too much with some new info, that's enough for now. And yeah, the next video will be getting into the fun stuff.